The energy on the View set was electric that morning. Harrison Ford was a rare get, especially for daytime television. Producers had been working for months to secure the interview, timing it perfectly with the release of his new political thriller, State of the Last Man. Ford, who typically avoided long-form interviews unless they served a clear purpose, had agreed with one condition: no questions about politics. Just the film. But Joy Behar had other plans. As the intro music faded and Ford took his seat at the table, the crowd erupted into thunderous applause. Dressed in a dark blazer, with a silver scruff that only added to his enduring mystique, he gave a nod to the audience, barely smiling. "Good to be here," he said in that iconic gravelly tone, brushing his hair back. "Let's just say it, still got it," Joy quipped, making the audience laugh. "You're 83, and yet, somehow, still more intimidating than half the Senate." Ford smirked. "I intimidate people by not talking much. Works wonders." The segment opened light. Sarah Haynes asked about stunts. Ford recalled injuring his ankle, for the third time, during a rooftop chase scene. Sonny Hostin brought up his conservation work, and he spoke passionately about protecting endangered forests. It was all going well, until Joy cleared her throat and leaned in. "Harrison," she began, tone shifting, "your film touches on some very hot-button issues: corruption in intelligence agencies, media lies, political paranoia. I have to ask, do you actually believe in all of that, or is it just for show?" There was a momentary pause. Ford's eyes narrowed slightly. "It's a movie. It's fiction. That's what acting is." Joy wasn't done. "Right, but over the years, you've made some pretty strong statements about government integrity, the environment, and even the media. And here you are, making a movie that paints all of those in a pretty bleak light." Ford stared at her. "Are you trying to imply I'm contradicting myself?" "I'm saying there's a pattern," Joy said, holding her smile. "You slam politicians, but you wine and dine with them in Hollywood. You protest carbon emissions but own multiple planes. It's a little, how do I put this, convenient, don't you think?" The studio air turned cold. "I came here to talk about storytelling, not get grilled like a damn politician," Ford said, his voice low but clearly irritated. Joy shrugged, pretending innocence. "We ask questions here. That's what we do. If that's uncomfortable for you, maybe you're in the wrong chair." He leaned forward, visibly annoyed now. "You want me to answer for every line I've ever said in public? Or do you just need another viral moment to chase ratings?" That got a mix of gasps and laughter from the audience. "You're being defensive," Joy shot back. "All I did was point out a contradiction." Ford ripped off his mic. "You invited me on this show under the premise of discussing the film. I should have known better." Producers rushed in from the sidelines, hands up, whispering into earpieces. Sonny tried to pivot. "Let's just, Harrison, would you be willing to?" But he was already on his feet. "You want a moment? Here it is." And with that, Harrison Ford stood, glared at Joy, and walked off the set in front of a stunned live audience and a national TV feed. The camera cut awkwardly to commercial, leaving the host speechless. But the internet was already exploding. Within minutes, #Harrison storms off trended worldwide. Backstage at The View, chaos erupted the moment Harrison Ford disappeared behind the curtain. "Cut to commercial. Cut now." A frantic producer barked into his headset, waving at the control booth as cameras captured the stunned expressions of the co-hosts. The studio audience sat frozen, whispering, phones already up and recording. Ford, meanwhile, was halfway down the hallway, striding past makeup artists and startled interns, muttering, "This is exactly why I hate this crap," under his breath. A young assistant jogged after him with his coat. "Harrison, wait, please. If we could just..." He spun around. "Tell them not to call me again. Ever." Meanwhile, back on set, Joy Behar straightened her cards and sipped her coffee with a smug smile, unfazed. "Well, that was dramatic," she said with a shrug, earning a few awkward chuckles from the audience. Sonny Hostin leaned forward. "I just want to say for the record, I thought Harrison was incredibly gracious before things got tense. Let's remember, he's a legend." Sarah nodded, clearly still rattled. "Yeah, but wow, that escalated fast." Producers debated whether to cancel the next segment entirely. But the decision was already being made for them. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram had exploded with footage. The raw, unedited clip of Ford walking off, mic clutched in his hand, face flushed with fury, was already at 1 million views within 10 minutes. News outlets pounced. Harrison Ford storms off The View in live meltdown. Joy Behar pushes Hollywood icon too far. Who's really to blame for the on-air blow-up? Within the hour, Ford's PR team issued a brief statement. Greater than, Mr. Ford appeared on The View today to promote his film State of the Last Man. Unfortunately, the interview shifted away from the film's themes and into a mischaracterization of his personal beliefs. Mr. Ford values free dialogue, but not when it becomes accusatory. He regrets the confrontation, but stands by his decision to leave. But the real shock came later that afternoon. Ford himself posted a rare video on his personal Instagram account. Unscripted, seated on a worn leather couch in his home, he looked straight into the camera. I've done hundreds of interviews in my life. I know how it works. But what happened today wasn't journalism. It was ambush, he said, calm but stern. I have nothing to hide. I've never claimed to be perfect. I'm just an actor who cares about the world and makes movies about hard things. If that's too complicated for morning television, so be it. The video hit 5 million views in 2 hours. While Joy laughed off the incident on her podcast later that day, calling it classic Harrison Ford grumpiness, not everyone saw it that way. Some viewers accused her of baiting the guest for clout. Others applauded her for asking the hard questions. The next day, The View returned with a somber tone. Whoopi Goldberg, absent the day before, opened the show. Look, yesterday was messy, she said bluntly. We're not perfect. Sometimes people push too far. Sometimes people walk out. That's life. But let's not forget, we invited him here. And it's our job to treat people with respect. The audience applauded. Even Joy looked a little less smug. But for Harrison Ford, the situation was over. He skipped the rest of his press tour, citing a need for a long flight and some damn peace. Paparazzi caught him 2 days later boarding his personal plane to Wyoming, dog in tow, sunglasses on. In classic Ford fashion, he muttered just loud enough for one photographer to hear. Next time someone asks me to do daytime TV, shoot me first. Ford's boots echoed sharply against the polished floor as he exited the stage, brushing past a dazed intern holding a tray of bottled water. The studio door swung shut behind him with a loud clang, sealing off the chaos he left in his wake. A camera operator who tried to follow him with a handheld rig was blocked instantly by security. Back on stage, the co-host sat frozen for a beat. Did that really just happen? Sarah Haynes whispered, eyes wide. Joy Behar, unshaken, gave a tight smile. Well, that's a wrap on Harrison Ford. The audience responded with a mix of nervous laughter and scattered applause. Several phones were still up, recording in disbelief. Some audience members cheered, some booed, and a few yelled out, "We love you, Harrison." The producer's voice crackled in the host's earpieces. We're cutting to commercial. 30 seconds. Hold. But the tension refused to wait. Sonny Hostin leaned across the table, frowning. Joy, what was that? We weren't supposed to go there. Joy shrugged. I asked questions. That's my job. If he can't take heat, maybe he should stick to pretending to be a cowboy. Joy, Sarah said, gently, you did go kind of hard. Please, Joy scoffed, rolling her eyes. The man's been in Hollywood for 50 years. He's not made of glass. Meanwhile, backstage, Ford had reached the hallway where his publicist, Carla, stood near the green room with a look of horror on her face. She hurried toward him, phone in hand. Harrison, please, wait, she said, falling in step with him. This is going viral already, CNN's reaching out. TMZ. We can still spin this. I'm not interested in spinning, he snapped. That wasn't journalism. That was a setup. He stopped near the service elevator and took a breath, visibly trying to collect himself. I told them before I came on, no politics. Just the movie. That's what we agreed to. I know, Carla said carefully. They ignored it. But if you walk away now without saying anything, they'll control the story. They already are, he said, yanking off the lapel mic cord still dangling under his jacket. Let him. I'm done. Just then, a junior producer cautiously approached, eyes wide with panic. Mr. Ford. I'm so sorry. They went off script. Joy does that sometimes. We didn't, none of us expected that to escalate. Ford looked at him for a long second, then sighed. Kid, you don't need to apologize for your host's ego. The elevator door